Are you wondering how you can contribute to Funniest Thing?
Don't flip out. Go to patreon.com/funniest thing.
Whoa!
That would have been crazy.
Welcome to The Funniest Thing.
Yes.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
Yes.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from CHOBO Studios in
beautiful downtown Van Nuys.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Amore. I needed to read that when I walked in.
Yes.
So, Ed, what do we got going on today?
Well, we have a very special episode because we are going to spend this episode with the amazing Reverend Cathy Norman from the Unity of Santa Barbara. Why don't you say hello, Cathy? We know you're out there. Yes. How are you today, Cathy?
I am so good. I am so happy to be with you guys again.
Oh, my God.
You always just make my heart sing. Thank you.
We didn't plan on having you in the whole episode, but we couldn't resist because you're so irresistible.
That's true.
So we want to spend as much time as we can. Let me read you the show description just to remind and let our listeners and viewers know what we're all about here today. So today's show is called Get Into the Groove with Reverend Cathy Norman. Even though, every thought is a gateway to somewhere. We learned that just now, didn't we?
Yeah. The thought I got this morning, folks, was a gateway to hell.
And it all depends on how you're feeling when you think that thought. It could be heaven or hell also.
I know.
All right, so every thought is a gateway to somewhere. The subjective trend.
It's so true.
The subjective trend of our consciousness determines our experience, and that came from Robert A. Russell, who we're going to read from and explain that more. Although we may have all created mental creases from habitual thoughts of worry and doubt, we can choose to get into a new groove by entertaining faith-filled thoughts that inspire confidence and prosperity. As you learn how to change the basic thoughts in your mind, you know how to change everything in your life and are well on the way to something better and more productive of good. On this episode, Darrell and Ed, along with Cathy Norman, will highlight just how simple it is to turn on your God-given ability to attract success. And throughout the whole episode, Cheerful Cathy Norman from Unity of Santa Barbara is going to get us moving with her wisdom, get us moving in a new groove, and later we'll share today's reading, which is Eager. Now, Eager. Nancy Norman, you must have been surprised when we sent you a daily word. Isn't it a current daily word we sent you?
Yeah, it's a current one.
You talking to Nancy Norman or Cathy?
Did I say
Norman?
Nancy?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I keep saying that because I spend so much time with your mother these days. Cathy Norman.
You did. I have it on my text right now.
Okay. Well, we don't need to get to that yet, but I was just thinking how Darrell and Ed often cull through the good daily words for you because you only like the metaphysical ones nowadays, right? Cheerful Cathy Norman. Cheerful Cathy Norman. Hopefully I didn't say it at the beginning as well, but yeah, we're so students of your mother nowadays. Every Thursday we spend time with Nancy at the unityjoyoflife.org at the Infinite Prosperity class.
Which, if you're listening or watching, you're free to join us as well at Unity Joy of
Life.
Life.org, and just click on the Infinite Prosperity Workshop. It's Thursdays, and you'll have the code right there to join us on the Zoom calls on Thursdays. There's a class in the morning at 7 a.m. Eastern. Is that correct?
Yeah, and
4 a.m. Pacific, and then 7 p.m. Eastern, which is the one Darrell and Ed go to, 4 p.m. Pacific.
You know what? No wonder we're both feeling a little cantankerous today because we didn't have Nancy this week.
No, we didn't.
We usually that's like our.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
That's why. Yeah, she's out on vacay.
Nice, rightfully so, man. She does such great work.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say we're like this because we went to live theater in Los Angeles last night.
Hey, that guy was a great magician we saw, man.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, we got blasted afterwards, but that was good while it lasted. Yeah, Stephen Tom Thorpe gave us a different kind of adjustment last night after the show. But you want to tell people how to be a member of the Funniest Thing Club?
Yeah, most of you probably are already a member, and we're going to let you know that God does not make hard work for those who seek him. And
right.
neither do Darrell and Ed, because we're firm believers that work is a four-letter word and it ends in K. So that's why we prefer to dive into metaphysical teachings, because scheming and willpower, it just doesn't do the trick. So a Funniest Thing Club member, we're a group of truth enthusiasts who live each day as ambassadors of God's love. As we continuously radiate love, we perform everyday miracles and experience better than expected outcomes.
Yes.
If you're already living this way or strive to, then you may consider yourself a member. We motivate one another by simply sharing how miracles occur naturally in our circumstances as the result of living expectantly and lovingly.
Yep, that's the truth. Let's take a moment to bless all of the Patreon contributors and the contributions that are coming in to just allow us to do this show with greater ease, and bless CHOBO Studios in the process. And we've been doing a prosperity Zoom class for the Patreon contributors. Grace Deathridge this week quoted it, something we said: accepting our divine heritage of abundant good. Love this. Thank you all for sharing. So we're just sending love to all those contributions, because when we magnify and multiply the value of these things in our mind, our life improves. Because we could be doing all manner of good and experiencing all manner of good, but if we're not recognizing it and magnifying it in our mind, that includes our value, the value of our friends, the amazing things God is doing in our lives, we miss it. So it really, so much of these teachings are something to do with what we do with our mind, which is what this show is all about. I just want to get through a couple things so we can all chat about this. If you want to send us something, Funniest Thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. Kathy Biagioti, my mom, last week on Facebook, what's the episode with Maloney called? It was called Be All You Can Be.
Be All You Can Be.
Yeah, and so we posted a little Facebook Live after we did our show, and my mom said, Dad, thanks for this. Dad said thanks for the cookie, because we sent him a black and white cookie home from Pinocchio's Deli afterwards.
We sent Jennifer Maloney to your home.
That's right. Our guest delivered a black and white cookie to my father, and he loves them. So she said, now I'm putting it all together how Jennifer had the cookie. Thanks for the special delivery yesterday. I'll look forward to the show from 2 Tustin High School grads. All right. Thank you, CHOBO. Indy out here at CHOBO Studios. How you doing today?
Doing great. All I got is amore, baby.
Nice.
Amore.
Yeah, you guys did some jiu-jitsu before we started. Shout out to Jeff Comfort out in Kansas City, Kansas, man. He built Unity Online Radio where we started, and each week he takes us right into the comfort zone. If you're enjoying the audio, thank you. God bless you for that. If you want to put a review up wherever you listen to the show there, that'd be great. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for tuning in, liking, and subscribing. If you didn't know we had a YouTube, we do. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see my surfboard behind me. Darrell showed me some cool markers. What are they called? Solid or something?
Yeah, they're. I now do a lot of artwork using the stuff graffiti artists use. So there's these markers called solid markers.
Yeah.
So they're like a paint stick if you've ever used art.
Yeah.
So they're like a paint stick, but it's really like, you know how you make balsamic? You reduce it till it becomes that delicious syrup.
Right.
Well, this is, just imagine them taking the marker, the ink in the marker, and reducing it to a solid crayon form. Oh man! So that's why
so good.
Well, that's why the graffiti artists love it. It's bulletproof, but I love it because of the colors and how it reacts to different surfaces. It looks like a child's crayon in most cases. So Ed is now using it on his surfboard, and when I came in, I thought a lot of the art on his surfboard was already there, and he only added the face.
Yeah.
But that's all.
Yeah. See, I actually get more joy out of things when I make them my own. A lot of people go, I spent a lot of money for this board, but I just go on there and whatever I feel like doing. And then when I see it, and when other people see it, it brings them joy as well. And it's just like an effortless thing. And I think a lot of our show today is like getting out of these grooves of like excess effort, fear, and worry, and like trusting in the process of realizing a good part of I've been changing my grooves lately. The blessing is a lot of those grooves were like based on this false premise that I have to make myself into something. I have to do something very hard, and I'll wake up and that voice is almost killing me right when I wake up. And it feels like, how's this ever going to get better? But the beauty of it is I'm not even taking those roads anymore. It's almost like this stuff that we read is showing me a whole different highway that I can take. And there's no traffic because a lot of people don't even know it's there or don't believe it works. So I just get to meet on that road. I meet beautiful people like Cathy Norman, like Darrell, like Indy, like Nancy Norman, who I keep calling Cathy, Nancy, like Michael Schoonover, like all these great authors.
A lot of our listeners who entered our lives and send us stuff on a regular basis.
Yeah, just like when I met Darrell in his Camaro and he said, "Life is a highway. I want to ride it all night long." I said, I'll have what he's having. And, that was intentionally Mom Jeans oriented for you, Darrell.
Well, that's most of our listeners.
Okay. Well, now we can get to some more of this truth stuff.
We got to do our 3 breaths before we bring Nancy. Now you got me calling her Nancy before we bring Cathy on.
All right, let's do 3 breaths together. Are we doing the?
Yes, because this is really this is really what was playing on my Camaro stereo.
Right. Yeah, because life is the good part about this too is we get into this creative mindset. A lot of these old limiting patterns don't feel good. They're not like dancing. They're more like just holding on tight and just hoping for the best and but not really believing it's going to happen, But this becomes more of a dance and more of a create, just like me riding on my surfboard or us doing the show, and whatever happens, it ends up working out for the best. So,
it also reinforces that it's the consciousness changes our circumstances, beginning with our perspective. Because when I came in here this morning, I was so fighting off so many negative ideas. Right. So when I walked in and you were reading that tome from Herbert Hoover about fear, I was like, oh my God, this is too much. I gotta go. But the good news is, because it's always consciousness, it can change with, like how we're saying, a new word or a new thought is a gateway. But the best thing of it all is prosperity isn't what makes us happy. Like, it's the happiness that attracts the prosperity.
Yes.
And that's why I love these 3 breaths.
Yeah, these thoughts are like, it's like a lot of those old grooves are just like building dams, really, against the flow of our energy. And when we think that's our reality, we think, how could it ever get better? But now we get to be like little kids. We're like pulling the dam down, and all that energy starts flowing through, and it's a whole new world.
We should call those old grooves ruts. And the new grooves, grooves.
Ruts. All right, let's take a deep breath to clear our mind.
Okay.
Only when I'm dancing can I feel this free.
Did you forget the melody of the first part?
You try it. Okay. Let's see what happens.
Only when I'm dancing. You're right. Can I feel this free?
Only when I'm dancing.
Can I feel this free? Get into the groove, baby. You got to move your love to me.
All right. I think we've done enough damage to that song.
But this is the point. It makes us laugh, and that's the whole thing, man. Because everything follows that. I'd rather be feeling like this.
Yeah.
Over something silly.
Yeah.
Because I want this consciousness. I don't want the serious consciousness.
Yeah. Right.
Or believing horrible things about myself and the world.
Yeah.
I don't want any of that.
Yeah. There's it's interesting when you think about the people who like start something. They're often like these oddball creative visionaries. And then whatever they start, like say it's a corporation like Google, for example, it can turn into this like the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Like, so my friend who works at Google yesterday, he told me like they use this like rating system there. It's like a 5-tier rating system. But they already have what percentage of each people are going to fit into each rating. And it's like based on your impact. And it was like 72% of the people there get like they thought this would be a great idea. The middle mark, like a C.
Yeah.
Now these are people that have like gotten A's at the top of their whole life. But the people who came up with this crazy corporate idea thought, well, if everyone gets a C, they're going to think it's something good. And they're all, so my buddy who's like high up in the company said like everyone's disgruntled all the time because only 2% of the people get the highest mark, which everyone in the company is used to getting the highest marks. But they come up with these crazy ideas of how they're going to boost productivity. But it's all just like a nightmare. But you got to go back to like, well, how did this all start? And it all started by somebody creating something that no one thought was going to work, was even a reality.
Yeah.
No one believed was, so we read, who was that was talking about, you got to imagine yourself. I think it was it.
I got
Russell. You got to imagine no, it was the other fellow.
I got it out there.
Yeah. Well, we could just
Paraphrase it.
Yeah. It's just like he said, it was Schwartz, right?
Schwartz.
And
David Schwartz. The book is, was it The Power of Thinking Big?
Yeah, or how to, yeah, that's right. And so he talks about like when you're thinking about yourself, it's important to imagine yourself as being an important person, not like a not someone who's just climbing a ladder or a rung on the ladder or a cog. You got to see yourself. And when you start to do that, we did a show a long time ago called Don't Take Advice from the Monkey in the Middle. Because a lot of people in middle management are frustrated because they don't really have the power to make decisions, but they want to be. But it's if you take the advice from the wrong people, it's like it's a doorway, it's a gateway, depending on who you ask.
Yeah,
right?
it's always different. Yeah.
So my son just started as an intern at Warner Bros. Music, and it all came through. I talked about it. My friend I've surfed with for 5 years, I didn't even know what he did. One night we had a discussion. 5 minutes later, he's hiring my son as his only intern. It turns out he's like a VP of A&R, and I didn't know that. So my son, we're just funniest thinging along, stumbling along. My son starts. He's stoked. He loves it. He's sitting in on these A&R calls. He's learning. He loves music.
Yeah,
he's 20
it's
years
perfect.
old, and he goes up to Arista Records for things, and he's like the one intern that gets to sit in on these calls. And he had this experience where he was sitting with the other interns, and they're all bragging about how many interviews they went
How many
through.
hoops they had to jump
How
through.
hard it was to get the job, and my son's sitting there, the internship, and my son was sitting there because he knows this stuff. I mean, like he's been around me, and it's natural to him. If you don't teach these principles out of someone, they're just natural. So for him, it's natural. He was standing there like smiling, and he didn't say anything in that moment. He's just thinking, I didn't work hard at all for this.
Yeah.
I just went with the natural flow, and eventually now he's like friends with one of the interns, and he's like, I got to admit it to you, I didn't work hard at all to get here. But then the guy said, but it's obvious you're in the right place and you're good at what you do. So it's not like it's the perfect position for him. It's just he didn't have to like flog himself or do anything painful to get to it. God connected it with him in the most amazing way.
Well, this is the thing. It means we always have those two options. Mm-hmm. And it's always a choice. It's a choice to believe that God is arranging things on my behalf.
Right.
And my part of the deal is just to continue to have faith in that.
Right.
And just do the simple things that are in front of me to do.
Yeah.
Or the inspired ideas that come to me that feel really good.
Right.
Not the things I think I ought to or should or better be doing. And something will come from left field.
Yeah.
Because I'm not worried about it.
Right.
And the other portion, which is the primary thing that's taught, unfortunately, is to worry about how you're going to get there.
Right.
So you better really start buckling down and working hard to prove you deserve it.
Right. Yeah.
That's the problem. Because once I start telling myself I got to prove I deserve it, that means subconsciously I'm telling myself I'm not good enough. And once I start telling myself I'm not good enough, that's followed by I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
And none of these feelings feel good.
Right.
And then the worst thing happens. Then when I meet people like your son, whether I worked hard and got there or not, or didn't get it, what am I going to be? Now I'm resentful.
Right.
They get all the breaks. It's who you know. It's not what you. And it's a living nightmare. And then the will to work even harder.
Right.
Instead of just drop it all. And that's what this show's all about.
Yeah.
Get into the new groove of trusting that
Right.
everything's in divine order.
Right.
And God is working. You know what I realized? I'll just wrap this up and we'll do the readings and we'll bring on
no
Cathy.
problem.
So, I didn't have the best of circumstances growing up.
Right.
And it's impacted me with a lot of the ways I think sometimes. And the tendency is to get upset. Why did that have to happen? Why do I?
Sure.
But the other day I was driving along and I was thinking about how amazing, when I'm in that right frame of mind, I'm thinking, geez, I'm really fortunate because, I don't have parents that meddle in my life.
Right.
And Mike Dugan told me that early on when I was full of self-pity. Like all these other people in their 20s, they have parents helping them. He goes, yeah, be grateful your parents got out of your life, early. Because you're going to be grateful one day. And I'm thinking, yeah, I don't have parents that meddle in my life. I'm grateful for, them having brought me into the world. But then I go, you know what? God is so loving to me. I really, because I was thinking about how fortunate I was to, join the Coast Guard and all the good fortune that came out of that. I would have never been introduced to these principles. It changed my life, which is nothing like the military, but it brought me into all this. And I'm going, wow, God, I do have a family member. God gave me a wealthy uncle who always provides for me, Uncle Sam.
Right.
So I started thinking, man,
yeah.
I can't curse people who have wonderful families and stuff anymore because I have like this great jolly Uncle Sam
Yes.
who's always taking good care of me.
With a smile, no less.
Yeah, and a red, white, and blue costume and a big hat.
No.
You got to come see me because
No!
you got to stay on the phone with me.
No, none of
Gives
that.
you the check.
all,
thank you.
All this stuff, my whole life. So I'm going, wow. So it really is wonderful when you can shine a light on your situation and then you get blasted with the reality, which is always better than you thought.
Yeah.
And then you can embrace it. Man, it's such a better feeling
I agree.
than the feeling of, I'm at a disadvantage or my dad said mean things to me.
Right. Or you got this supposedly like great job, but you feel like you compromise yourself to get there. When you were talking, I was thinking, we get to write on our resume, do we willing to compromise on this universal spiritual resume within our own mind? Do we include a line that says, I'm willing to compromise, don't worry? Or do we not? Because one other thing my buddy told me is he has a friend he went to Oxford. He's from Scotland. His other buddy is in finances and lives in Dubai. I was just talking about how I have no interest in going to Dubai because they opened a new wave pool there for surfing and whatever. But he said an interesting thing. His friend that went there, he's there because he loves golf and he's into finance. But this guy has an amazing policy. From the very beginning, he said, I will never work long hours. If I want to leave, I'm leaving when I want to leave. And if they don't like it, they can fire me and I'll get a new job. He has done that. And he has been successful every step of the way. But on his resume, it says, will not compromise. And he's willing to let the universe, work it out for him.
Yes.
In fact, one time he got fired because he wouldn't do the extra hours. They had to pay him for 6 months because he couldn't get a job anywhere else because of a policy they have, which is like you can't leave this company and go straight into another company. So they paid him for 6 months to just live. And then he went and got another job because he's good at what he does. But he is trusting that the universe will unfold his new groove.
Yeah, and it keeps doing it.
And it's so inspiring. But it takes some audacity to live this way. It takes some courage, to live this way. But man, it's like you become what everyone wants to be, like some version of a a rock star or a fame, but you're famous in God's eyes.
Yes.
And like God's the one who gets you into the VIP rooms.
Yes.
The ones you want to be in, not the ones someone else says you should be in. And if you get in there, then you're someone. God opens doors that mean something to me in a way that only me, but it only has to be me, but it hits like in a way that just makes you realize how magical
Well,
life
it
is.
ends up blessing everyone.
Yeah.
Because you're in your right place. We need to hear something from Cathy.
I was
at this
thinking the
time.
same thing
Yeah.
because we're going off the cuff here today. Kathy?
How do you feel about all the things we've been babbling on about?
Well, as you guys were talking, I was reminded, I don't know which book it was, but it was some book. You know how you read something and it sparks like, oh my God, you just all of a sudden are shot into a whole different dimension and you have a different perspective of how life is. And it might have been Shortcut to a Miracle, or one of those. I have no idea. But I remember thinking about the universe, that it has unlimited and genius ways and means of taking care of each one of us. Unlimited. And so when you think about all of that, if you like both of you were saying, when you just trust, there's these serendipitous ways of the universe orchestrating itself. And that's why you're called the funniest thing, is because you get to say, oh, the funniest thing just happened to me. And it's because you trusted in a higher power in the unlimited and genius ways of the universe to bring something about. So I love this subject. This is where I love to shine.
Oh my God, you just made it clear too that when I am striving for something that I think I ought to be doing and I ought to be working towards, if I get that myopic about it, not only does it feel bad, but also now I am cutting myself off from all the infinite possibilities, all the serendipitous happenings that could happen.
Yeah.
All the coincidences are now cut out of my vision, my acceptance.
Absolutely. You know, have you guys seen, and this was in the 80s when Shirley MacLaine came out with the movie Out on a Limb?
Yes.
There's this one scene where she and her buddy, and I don't remember his name, they're driving down.
Yes.
My
That's the
favorite
only
scene.
scene I remember in my brain.
Yeah, so it's dark and they're driving through this windy dirt road, and he closes his eyes and he takes his hands off the wheel, and the car now is driving itself, and she's freaking out, and he said, trust, there's something bigger that's driving itself. And when I saw that, I just thought, man, we got to take our hands off the wheel. We think we're not literally, because when you're in a car, you got to keep your hands on the wheel. However, it was such a great symbol of how we always feel like we have to be in control and be in this direction and go over here. But if we just metaphorically,
Yes.
taking my hands off the wheel, this is where unlimited genius ways and means of the universe taking care of us.
You know what? That goes.
Let's hear this.
I'm going to read this one paragraph because how we ended up on this train of thought is moving right along, and we weren't sure what we have. You know, we always come up with what we think we're going to read, and then it changes throughout the show. But this just reinforces everything we're talking about. This is from a new book we've been reading. Nancy Norman, Cathy's mom, turned us on to it at one of her prosperity workshops we mentioned on Thursdays, and it's called You Too Can Be Prosperous by Robert A. Russell. It's an oldie but goodie, published in 1950. And listen to this. The chapter is chapter 2, What is Prosperity? Riches come by the same law that metal objects come to a steel magnet. The power of attraction is not in the bar of steel, but in the invisible force with which it is charged. So it is with supply. It comes not by hard work, physical effort, or willpower, but by the Spirit of God embodied as a working force in the consciousness. This power draws material riches to one in abundant measure. They come not because of anything a person does on the outer plane, but by virtue of his consciousness or what he is. And then the biblical quote, "For unto everyone that hath shall be given." In other words, to him that hath the consciousness of the kingdom of God, all these things shall be added. And he gives a definition of prosperity, which I think is appropriate for today's episode. Because some of us, when we hear this word, I used to think it just meant money.
Right.
Money and things. Well, here we go. And this is also from his book, same chapter. The dictionary defines prosperity as the state of being prosperous, advance or gain in any good or desirable, successful progress, attainment of the object desired. To prosper in this sense is to have access to everything where and when it is needed. It would enable one to face the future with the certain knowledge that whatever he needed would always be present when the need appeared. This is the kind of prosperity that Jesus had, and it can be ours too. And I love that, because it doesn't mean I need a bunch of things to prove. No, it just needs knowing, you know what? Right when we need it, the need will be filled.
Yes.
That's the prosperous consciousness that keeps this magnetic force going. The problem comes when I start thinking, I got to make something happen now. Not enough is happening, or I got to bring in more income for no particular reason, just in case. Yeah. That's when I start jamming the frequency.
Totally.
But as long as I just keep this attitude of, nope, you know what? Let's just keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And you know what? Whatever we need, it's going to materialize right when we need it.
Yeah.
Or like Mike Dugan used to tell me, don't worry, Darrell. We'll jump off that bridge when we get to it. Because I used to always be worried about the future.
Let me unveil this, okay? Because out of the book, Robert A. Russell book, he recommended another book, which is called The Law of Financial Success by Edward E. Beals. I'm just going to read the last part, which goes right along with what you said of the part I read earlier. And this is why it's important, because it'd be easy if you just listened to the show or heard Cathy speak or heard whatever, read your book, and you got up and the rest of the day was just easy, right? Like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to trust God all day. But what happens is these old grooves are very hypnotic. They come up, and then all of a sudden you're like, where the hell's the thing I heard this morning? Like
these old ruts.
Yeah, the old ruts come. You're in the old rut, and it feels so damn real.
It feels like a hut.
And he says the worst thing about fear and worry is that while they exhaust a great part of the energy of the average person, they give nothing good in return. Nobody ever accomplished a single thing by reason of fear and worry. Now, you got to remember, fear and worry will mask itself as seriousness. Yes. As like the right thing to do, or the thing I have to do.
Or I better, or I ought to, or this is what everyone does. You need to do this. This is required work.
Right. And we really have to get under the hood of our thinking to recognize how insidious it can be, which is why you got to do a morning routine of meditation, inspired reading, affirmative prayer to get under the hood of your own vehicle to know what's going on under there. Otherwise, on the surface, it's going, this is the right thing I have to do. Underneath, you're remembering your mom judging you. You have undue fears about your boss judging you, losing your job. You think you're going to be in the poorhouse at any moment. All of that stuff is nonsense. But it can feel very real when it takes over. So he said fear and worry never helped one along a single inch on the road to success. But it promises it will. That's the thing. It promises to keep you safe, but it's a lie, right?
Yeah.
It says because it never will, because their whole tendency is to retard the progress and not to advance it. The majority of things that we worry and fear about never come to pass at all, and the few that actually do materialize are never as bad as we feared they would be. It's not the cares, trials, and troubles of today that unnerve us and break us down. It's actually the troubles that we fear may come sometime in the future. Everyone is able to bear what's in front of us today But if we heap on those burdens of tomorrow, the next day, what our mom thinks, whatever, the boss thing, day after that, you'll do your mind an injustice, and it is no wonder that after a bit, we heap on the last straw that breaks the back of our mental camel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important to realize if that's happening, there is something you can do about it. The voice inside is going to go, no, there's nothing I can do about it. That's why we need to have these practices of like meditation to recognize a broader. I had to do this morning. The voices of fear, doubt, and worry after Stephen Tom Thorpe's sermon last night. No, all love to STT. But this morning I woke up and it was the sermon of fear, doubt, and worry was so compelling to believe that there's nothing I could do about it. But I just had to be really simple with myself. And one of the things that the affirmation that Robert A. Russell just recommends all of us use is, I am prosperity. He calls that your basic thought. Like, what is the simplest thought at the center of everything you're thinking? Because if it's fear, you're going to get more fear. But if you reset it with a principle such as, I am prosperity, it's a great litmus test, because the thoughts of fear, doubt, and worry can't exist in the same sphere as I am prosperity. So I started doing I am prosperity. I started using the Nancy Norman recommended, put your eyes 45-degree angle up to the corner where the wall meets the ceiling, and start thinking I raise my eyes to the hills from which my good comes. I started, and this was all very mechanical for me.
I was doing it this morning too, and I was even telling myself, I go, you know what, I'm just saying I am grateful now, but I know it's going to click.
Yeah.
Because that one, I was doing I am prosperity, and then something bubbled in my head and said, no, I am grateful for the life I have. And that felt good, but I had to, we're letting you know, folks, if you're listening, don't dismiss it if it feels mechanical and like, oh, this is a joke. Why am I even doing this? We've been doing it for a long time, and my mind will still tell me these lies like, this is a joke. Was this really going to work? But I'll do it anyway. Right.
It's funny because
because I know it'll click.
The ideas of fear, doubt, and worry will tell us that they are eternal, that they're never going to go away, and that they can't, which is complete rubbish. It's a complete lie. It's actually the reverse of the truth.
Yeah.
This is why this stuff works, because, and I had this realization the other day, it's like, our prosperity doesn't stop because we do something bad or God judge. It stops the moment we believe we did something unworthy of our prosperity, because we cut ourselves off from it. We use our energy to push it away. But sometimes that programming is so deep, we think that's God. That fear is God, but it's not. It's just our subconscious mind now believing. So it's been really rewarding for me to realize that this God as an abundant source of our unlimited good is principle. Yeah. It does not change. And so everything, and using an affirmation like I am prosperity, or doing what Darrell recommends is the yes walk. Just walk. That's helpful. Every time your left foot hits the ground, just say yes. Yes. Every time, just doing something like David Schwartz in his book talks about, like how he has to adjust his mind mechanically in the morning by doing things like this. And sometimes the fear will go, if you have to do silly things like that, it'll never work for you. But you just got to be like the child that Jesus talked about to enter the kingdom. Remember, we enter the kingdom. The kingdom's been there all along, but we enter it by becoming aware of the truth. I mean, Ernest Holmes just talked about that the other day. He said, I'm not like rising up into my wholeness. I'm simply growing in my awareness that it's already there every day. Like, so that's another thing. A lot of this nonsense about like people who have risen up above and now they're the chosen one and they never have any issues, and you know what I mean? They'll go up on stages and purport to all this stuff. It's nonsense to me. It's not helpful for me at all. The truth is that each one of us already is divinely created. We just are awakening to what's already there. These affirmations are not making a new reality, although it feels that way. But it's a reality that's been there all along, and we're just awakening to it. And that's why it's like, it's the ultimate like humility to realize, oh my God, even when I was saying all that horrible stuff about myself and others, God was there loving me. The truth was there. The love was there. The people were there. All of it was there. I just needed to, I always say, I'm the last one to realize it. When I wake up and go, wow, my friends and the people who love me, they've been waiting for me to wake up to it all along, because I can, I've been making their life hell by my fear and droning on about these stories. It's like, what a relief when I'm around someone who just feels good. It just feels good, right? It doesn't even need explanation.
Well, that's why we're allowed to feel good. Even among people who aren't feeling good, we shouldn't stifle our good feelings because we think, oh, this is being disrespectful, being happy. They're acting morose. I better act morose. Yeah. No, that doesn't benefit them. I also like in Catherine Ponder's Prosperity of Life, I think it's called, the book. You could find it if you have Apple Music. Reading of this book. Just punch in Catherine Ponder and you'll get all her books on tape on Apple for free. But in there,
I think Spotify also has some of them, right, Indy? Yeah.
So in there, she says this. She said, a friend of mine describes affirmations. She equates them as being the same as a steering wheel. They're not like us just wishing and hoping or making believe, but it goes along with every word, every thought's a gateway. Well, she says, affirmations, you got to think of them as their steering wheel. And we're saying statements, they steer us in the direction we want to go.
Right.
But people go, well, that's silly. Well, you're thinking negative. Those are negative affirmations. It's the same thing.
That's right.
Why are you saying that's more legitimate and this is silly? I'd rather be silly and feel better.
Yeah, I agree.
And the best part is you'll get evidence that it's real.
Right.
Because circumstances and coincidences will happen. It's like that Bible verse. Faith without works is dead. And I used to think that meant faith doesn't count unless you're working hard. Because that's how a lot of people taught it to me. Faith isn't real unless you're suffering under a heap of crap. I was like, faith without works is dead. I'm dead. But it doesn't mean that, because I looked up the definition of works and I also have the Message version of Bible. It means faith without demonstrations, without evidence, is dead.
Right.
So when you put your faith in fear, thinking these other, and you're not getting demonstrations, well, that's not faith, man. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's misguided faith.
But if you put your faith in joy and hope and love, and that things will change, even though right now you're upset with everybody in the room like I was. Just having a corner, like just a poppy seed of, no, this will change, Ed's been this way before too. This is what I was.
Yeah.
And boom, you get the demonstration.
Yeah, same for me, because when we're going through it, and this is something new for me. I had to tell myself, well, actually, Indy and I were feeling really good before you came in here. We didn't do anything wrong.
No.
And then I said to myself, well, Darrell didn't do anything wrong because he's just where he's at. And I started doing the other trick Nancy taught us. I just saw the white light above your head, the angel of God's presence coming in over CHOBO Studios.
Oh, that's what I was trying to swat away.
I know. I saw, believe me, I saw you. But I just was like, I had to sit with it because the old me thought, Dad's mad, I'm in trouble or whatever. But I was like, no, I was happy. And, and I went into that space and something new came.
Yeah.
And it was so good. I took my hands off of the wheel and look where we are now.
Yeah, because that's what I had to do the couple of times. You've done the same thing.
Oh,
no, just sit here. He'll be back. This will be good. Once we do this, everything's going to change.
Right, and it's you're in the role oftentimes of teaching people stuff, and it's easy for when you're learning from someone to then become bitter at them when they don't live up to your expectation, right? So sometimes I've had to. It's been like me growing to be my own teacher, my own believer, not just living off of your faith.
No,
because you're a human. I never liked those stories. Oh, my guru died, and I was like, some reason I just didn't want that. I wanted to be my own guru in a sense. I want to love and appreciate and learn from people, but I don't want it to, to become a false idol.
Well, that's why we love Cathy.
I was going to say the same
because before
thing.
the show started, I was saying that it's a compliment. I love the people who teach me best are the people who are on the spiritual path, and the spiritual path means I see them make mistakes, but they admit it, and now they're working to come back, and then they're on it, and that's what we share with each other. We don't just share with each other, everything works great for me.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't, how does that help anybody?
Yeah, and we were talking about you, Kathy, and now I really want to get a lot of your wisdom on all of this because of the fact that you're a person, when you tell a funny story, you're laughing before the punchline. Like, it's really funny. It's not like, look at me, ha ha, I'm going to tell it. It's like, it's just like the way we are. People think that this show is supposed to be like some funny thing, and it is. We laugh a lot, but I feel like you're laughing with yourself, at yourself, with the universe, with God. And so we really love that about you.
Benefit
because
from
we
that.
feel that ripple out into our own hearts when you're giving a sermon. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when you talk about fear and uncertainty and doubt and all of those great little negative feelings, I think it was there was an experiment that was done in the 1960s. Don't quote me on that, but for me, it made an impression in that what they would do is they would take these people that were just like all into their fear and all into their negativity, and they drew their blood right when they were having like all this stuff going on, kind of like what you were like, Darrell, earlier today.
Yeah.
And what they found is that there's an actual chemical that's released that can be very addictive. And that's why we go, and I find myself doing this as well. That's why we go down the rabbit hole, and unless you stop it, you continue to be addicted to the negative thoughts and like, oh, now this is going to happen and this is going to happen, and oh my God, what if this happens? And all of a sudden you're just in it. And when you stop it, when you're around people that are positive, that can lift you up, that can help you to stop the addiction, if you will.
Yeah.
Then those positive thoughts are even more powerful. There's another chemical that they found that's even more powerful than the original. So, I think there was someone that said one positive thought can cancel out 10 negative thoughts.
Yeah.
So that's how powerful we can be because it does affect our bodies. So once we put a stop to, no, I'm not doing that. Like Jesus said, Satan, get thee behind me. Like, don't even bother. Once we do that, then things start going back into a higher frequency, higher way of being.
Right.
So I love that you guys brought that up because that's the way it is on planet Earth. It's the master class.
Right. Right. You're one of the best I've seen in person at being able to stand in your truth and power in the face of something that could trigger you or that you might feel compelled to jump in with, but not going along with it. Like the first time we saw you speak when that woman in the back started cursing the church or whatever she was doing, and you just kept saying, thank you. That was a powerful demonstration.
And then she peacefully left.
Yeah.
Like the person gently escorted her out. She wasn't like raving or it just neutralized. She left, and then you went on with the talk, and everyone forgot. Well, did something happen earlier? I don't think so. Maybe it did.
Yeah. Let me just read one thing from Schoonover. He texted me the other day. He's been a great help to me, and he said,
Reverend Michael
Schoonover, excuse me, Schoondoggy, as Indy calls him.
Tell him what you're,
fantastic.
Because it might be, what's
It's
the name?
The Unity of Vista.
Unity of Vista.
Unity Way of Vista.
Unity Way, right, yeah.
But this goes along with this because our true nature, the only way we can be healthy is like when we are loving. Because those other thing about those chemicals that take us down is they do negatively affect our health, our well-being, our nervous system. So he said, Michael, in an exchange, said, many mystics say on the other side, the only question we will consciously reflect on is how much we loved all those who used us and despised us. And what I liked about that, I responded something because I was in the right space to hear it, which is That's because there's no greater joy than realizing I can love you regardless of what your own head might be saying at that moment.
Yeah.
You know, like if I just stop putting earplugs all the time and stop listening to the negative crap that some people say, like myself can be in that boat, and just thought about the things I love about them. Everyone has so much more I love about them than that I don't like. It's just that sometimes our head box starts to just, my buddy JJ used to say, call it clucking. We start clucking and saying stuff that we don't really mean, but we're in that negative spiral, you know? But I'm just thinking about going into that, just wear earplugs full time and just love people 100% of the time and just do that. I think that would be the most successful thing I can do.
I've done that, folks. I told you, I was going into a place where I knew the people predominantly talk negative, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do? So I put in my earbuds and cranked up like the spa music, and they're chatting away and stuff. But I was just like, hey, I couldn't hear a word. Another time I knew it, that it dawned on me, it was like, I noticed how joyful and unaffected I was when I was with a bunch of people and I didn't understand the language. I was just like a happy, naive, dopey, friends with everyone. And I thought, man, I got to learn to not understand people's language by choice.
Yes.
Because it really is. It changes everything. But you know how you were saying, like, these things affect us physically with the chemicals and do damage or actually provide health for our body. But it also, that's evidence that our vibration, our magnetism is transforming as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's coursing through our body for good or bad, but also for good or bad, now that's going to be affecting our circumstances.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's that powerful.
That's mysticism in a nutshell.
Let me just read this.
Oh, absolutely.
This goes along with what Ed just said about how we don't. Here, I'm just going to read it.
Remember when, I just want to say this one last thing. Yeah. Remember when I went to that meet? I took my assistant out to lunch, Fino, and he was mumbling, and we were in a very loud diner, and I couldn't hear a damn thing he was saying, and I didn't even want to keep trying to hear it, so I just listened to all this noise, clinking glasses. And I just trusted, and at the end he goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I came out to lunch with you. You really helped me figure a bunch of stuff out."
Well, the best part was I had no idea what he said. But the best part, folks, is Ed said, "Oh, I'm going to lunch with Fino. You know what that means? It's going to be a head full of trauma." But because you didn't hear a word he said, it healed him and healed you.
And he was like, "You really get me. Like we're a lot alike."
And all it was Ed couldn't hear.
Did you listen to this show?
No.
Okay, good.
I might actually send it to him though. Just
you got to. So listen, this is from Around the Year with Emmett Fox. If you have it, it's June 17th, which is today, and it just reinforces exactly what Ed said. We do not have to create good. We do not have to persuade God to be love or life or truth or intelligence. We do not have to ask him to remember us. We could not ask for any good. Fundamentally, evil is a false belief about the power and availability of good.
Yeah.
And, a good thing to do these readings in the morning and have these books is you can make notes over the years, and then you'll see them. I date them when I write them in there. So in 2020, I wrote, "Just believe in the good and all will go well. Drop all else. It feels bad because it's false." And then in 2021, I wrote, "Just believe in good, have hope, and God does the rest."
Yes.
And then ask myself, what is the happiest thought I could have in this situation? Believe that. And I attributed that quote to Jesus. He may or may not have said that, but for me, it gives it a little extra oomph.
Yes. One of the things, and I just want to reflect back, is that I think it was Jesus. You think I would know, where he said, "The Lord knows that you have need of these things."
Yeah.
Yes.
And so sometimes whenever Steve's like, oh man, we should do this, and they'll go, well, the Lord, and he just rolls his eyes. The Lord knows that we have need of these things, and they always come.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it always comes. It might come at a later date or whatever, but it's kind of a fun thing to say.
Yes.
Just knowing you're always being supplied for, always.
Yes, right when we
The
need
Lord
it.
knows.
I'm glad I have a Cathy Norman named Lori Fazzaro who says those things to me when I need to hear them.
Yeah.
And I'll roll my eyes maybe in the moment, but then I'm like, oh, I'm so glad she reminded me of that.
The best part about Lori is she'll tell you the things that you said yesterday. Just to really turn the knife a little bit more.
Yeah, she's
like,
good. Yeah, and she laughs about it, which is even better.
Yeah, my wife does the same thing.
It is so great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So,
Should we read our eager reader?
yeah, let's hear that. I definitely want to hear more from Cathy Norman because
Yeah.
you're so good at. You were talking about quantum leaping for a while, which is another way to make new grooves.
Favorite.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So maybe we could read the eager. Maybe we can.
And
talk
yeah,
a
because
little bit
eager
about
will
that.
lead right to new grooves with quantum
Yeah, because we
jumping.
want to talk about, like, there's people out there probably who are struggling with these grooves, and maybe they don't yet have, like, the community we have. I mean, I got New Thought Ministers
Great.
on my text threads. I got to talk to you, Darrell, Indy. But we want to just keep encouraging, no matter how hard, because it can feel like this morning. I just want to say briefly, this morning I woke up and I had that first thought was, wow, it's all good. It's just this voice in my head.
Yeah.
But then once that voice took over, I go, what the hell happened to that idea that it's all good? Where did it go?
Oh,
you
me
know, and
too.
it can feel it felt kind of very challenging, you know. So we want to just keep encouraging people. You can change the groove. It is working for you.
It changes it doesn't even take that long to
That's
change.
right.
If
Because
you
this good
trust
is
it.
already
Yes.
true. God brings it about in spite of those doubts. There's so much good for you. But let's get to the eager reading and then we'll talk
The
more.
eager reading.
Yeah.
Now, the eager reading is the daily word. Is that? I just want to make sure
Yes.
I'm doing the thing. Okay.
I like calling it the
Let me
eager
get-
reading.
I love it. Well, I know why. Because the word for today is eager.
She
Yeah.
finally gets it, folks. That's why we love her.
So funny. All right. Well, this is very good. So I love the affirmation. My enthusiastic soul energizes me. My enthusiastic energy vitalizes everyone around me, opening hearts, giving hope, and providing help. I eagerly fulfill my purpose by giving loving service with a large, well, how do you pronounce that word?
Ed looked it up. Wait, we got it here.
Was it the alacrity word?
Yeah, alacrity.
Something like that, yeah. I looked it up, but I don't know exactly how you spell it. But it's ALACRITY.
Well, what it means, tell the audience, because
It means with cheerful eagerness or something like
Yes.
that, like cheerful
Okay.
enthusiasm.
cheerful enthusiasm.
That's
Bright
good
cheerfulness.
for me.
Bright cheerfulness, I think it says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my relationships and activities, I seek to share, help, and bless. I lift up those around me with my encouraging spirit. I am motivated and inspired to make a difference in the world. Whenever I face difficulties, I center myself in the realization that God in me is greater than anything that happens in the world. Whatever I encounter is an opportunity to make the love of God visible. I express that love each day. I have the energy and vitality to do all that is mine to do, knowing I am divinely supported and guided in all my actions. And that is inspired by 1 Peter 3:13. Now, who will harm you if you are eager to do what is good? I love that. Fantastic. The eager reading.
Yes.
The
Now I know
eager
what that
reading.
is. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. You got anything to say about that?
I think we need since we let the cat out of the bag, Cathy can give a quick share of what quantum jumping is as
Yeah.
a way to get your groove, they'll get those new, healthier grooves in your consciousness moving.
Yeah, talk about how it's helped you, or how do you use it? Yeah.
Oh, it's my favorite thing. So quantum jumping is the idea that there are more realities available at any given moment. So, as Albert Einstein said, all time exists at the same time. So there's future yous and many possibilities of yous, and there's past yous, many possibilities of past yous that maybe you didn't live, but they're still available to you. And so in this moment, what you can do as far as quantum jumping, now there's different ways you can use quantum jumping, but what you can do is you can, let's say you're looking for, let's say you're thinking about writing a book, and so you can call forth the future yous that have already done that. So there's there's a you that has already done that, and you can call that forward, and that future you will guide you into writing a book. Or now the other part of it is that you can quantum jump into that you that has already done it. And so that you, I'm not sure if I'm explaining or if this is coming across the way I want it to. So that you from the future has just embodied you. And so you now are that author. You walk around as that person. You embody that person. And of course, the universe matches every frequency, every energy. And that the universe then guides you in the now moment to maybe the editor, or you get inspiration, or all of a sudden you're just downloading. You are that person. And that's what we teach in Unity, is that in order to attract what you want, you have to become what you want.
Yes.
You can't just say, I'm now a famous author, and then sit in front of your computer and go, I can't do this. So a lot of times we say an affirmation, but we do something different.
Right.
What we're saying is envelop it.
Yes.
Become it. So you can quantum jump. It's an energy jump into the person that you want to be. It's a great tool.
Yes.
I do it every single day. It's my favorite thing to do.
I love it. It really helps us embody the biblical verse where, believe that you have already received, embody that. And I mean, it's been paraphrased in many different ways, and to hear it this way really makes it clear and enjoyable for me to digest and want to continue to practice. So I love learning more about it from you.
Many times we do it unconsciously.
Yes.
For instance, years ago, it was like in 2014, my husband Steve and I wanted to buy a house here in Ojai. Well, the prices for real estate is just sky high. And, once again, God knows that you have need of these things. So what we would do is that we would pretend like we had all the finances we needed to buy a home. And every Sunday after church, we would go to the open houses.
Yes.
And the realtors, they were like, oh my God, the looky-loos, because they always knew that we would just look and not do anything about it. But we pretended like, so we embodied it. And then when we found our home, and it wasn't, let's just say, this is how the universe will orchestrate itself. I was at Trader Joe's in Ventura. Some friends of mine who live in the neighborhood that we live in now, but it's the neighborhood that I absolutely love. And they said, Cathy, we want you guys to move here. And there's a house that's in probate. You got to go by and see it. So sure enough, that day, Steve and I broke into the house. It had been empty for 3 years.
Wow.
It was rat infested. It was, it was like, and Steve's a contractor, so I'm thinking, I can't move into this house. It's awful. And he's saying, "Oh my God, this is fantastic. Do you see the possibility?" And because of that, we were able not only to afford the house, but remodel it in such a way that it's our dream house. And so everything kind of coordinated itself. And this was the other thing is that we had the loan, but we didn't have it immediately. And the realtor had said, "Oh, there's other people that want this house. We need money cash." And once again, we embodied, okay, somehow we're going to attract that cash. We were telling a friend of ours about it, and he said, "Hey, I just got an extended credit of like 200,000 or whatever. We had the other funds." And he said, "Let me just loan you the money." Just like that. I mean, who does that?
Wow.
It's God doing it through these people. That's what it is.
You know,
If you embody it, if
Yes.
you embody
yeah.
Yes.
the universe supplies the people, places, things, circumstances so that it always goes in your favor.
Yeah.
So just embody what it is that you want. Quantum jump into that, and everything will work out beautifully, really.
Yeah, I love what you're saying because we got to become something new in order for our dreams to come true. And one thing I realized, like, what if I was this like successful consultant person that I know I'm becoming? Then all of a sudden there's no more room for me to be this guy who like blames Fazaro for me having a bad day or whatever it is. That there's no more room for that other thing, because that new person would not act that way. So when you talk about quantum jumping, it's really helpful because in this book, Robert A. Russell book, You Too Can Be Prosperous, this is what I like because you got to feel it, right?
Yes.
He says the idea of I am prosperity. He says this idea is so big, so powerful.
I love this.
And so irresistible in its action that it will magnetize everything in your life and cause everything to vibrate in harmony with it. It will draw success, work opportunities, and beneficial activities of every sort to you. Its vibration is so strong that it will demagnetize everything unlike itself. Its power is so great that it will penetrate and dispel every inharmonious condition. It spreads its light, its vitality, its riches to every part of your world. It is omnipotent and omniscient. And it says, if you are lost in a maze of false beliefs, this idea will bring you to your goal. I like that because it's one thing that we do, and then all these other things, like we've said throughout the show, get magnetized to you in ways that you couldn't even rationally work out.
That's the good news. And
Absolutely.
it's ending on such a good cup of coffee. Are we going to end it soon? Because it's like I'm going, man, this is so good. I just want to say one thing. I just want to say one thing. It's in alignment with Cathy's excellent example she just gave.
Yeah.
But, because some of our listeners like me would be going, well, I like that idea of seeing myself as the future, like Ed is the consultant or already owning this house, because I've been coming at it from, how are we ever going to own a house? Like I could see the benefit of this. But a great tool is, and I just was reminded of this again in the David Schwartz book, which is, it's either called The Power of Thinking Big or The Benefit of Thinking Big.
All right, I'll look it up.
Yeah, we'll find that. But he gives this suggestion, and this you could use, and I'm going to use today, thanks to Cathy reminding me of this again, when I'm thinking about the future self, the real me, the big me, not the little me, where I am today me, or where I think I am today me. By doing this, in his book, he recommends when you're stuck like this.
It's called The Magic of Thinking Big, by the way.
The Magic of Thinking Big. He goes, ask yourself, what would an important person do? Like, if you all of a sudden all these people are gossiping and stuff, what would the important person do in this situation? Would he join in with the gossip, or would he just, see it as humorous and move along? What would the important person do? About your dress. How would an important person go out today into the world? Little things like that. But now I like making it even more specific to what Cathy was just saying. How would a homeowner in Ojai, a future potential legitimate buyer act?
Yeah.
Oh, they'd go to open houses. How would, a successful artist already in galleries and and appreciated and selling paintings, how would he act? Would he get involved with petty thoughts? No. It automatically lists it. How would a professional consultant behave in their thinking this situation about himself or about what's happening right here? And it's amazing because the thoughts are always higher and more enjoyable thoughts.
Yeah.
Like this isn't hard to do, folks, because those thoughts feel better.
Yeah.
That's what means they're the truth. That's our real reality. That's the indication that those are true thoughts.
I'd love to leave you with a little tool.
Yes,
a little how-to.
Please do.
And that is, because I do this all the time. If I'm feeling kind of down or angry or whatever, then I just go, I now call forth all of my future selves and my past selves that have ever been happy beyond their wildest dreams. And all of a sudden, I'm just that. I just embody that. Those energies from future, past, present, or whatever, they embody me. And I can go forward being the happiest me. So just call that forward. Call that energy forward.
I love this stuff.
Yeah, I do too.
Me too.
Ernest Holmes in today's Science of Mind 365 Science of Mind said, if we behold beauty instead of ugliness, then beauty will appear. If we persist in seeing the true rather than the false, then that which is true will appear. Let us then cease weeping over the shortcomings and mistakes and evils of our yesterdays, and steadfastly beholding the face of the great and the divine reality, let us resolve to walk in the light wherein there is no darkness. Definitely I know that every negative condition of the past is cleared away from my consciousness. I no longer think about it, see it, or believe in it, nor do I believe that it has any effect whatsoever on my experience. Yesterday is not, tomorrow is not, but today, bright with hope and filled with promise, is mine. Today I live.
Well,
so that's what the quantum leaping. Today we live, not tomorrow.
Amen.
Right? We're calling it all forth into living today. Maybe we could get a quick prayer from Cathy Norman to bless anything that you're inspired to do. I think because
bless our listeners with their, because a lot of listeners are probably getting geared up, thinking, "Oh, this is getting me excited to follow that dream or that aspiration or step out in that direction." So this is perfect.
Oh, good. Well, let's just take a moment right now and realize that in God, all things are possible, and that God has unlimited and genius ways and means of taking care of each one of us. And so because there is an unlimited amount of miracles in God, we just say, God, we surrender ourselves into your care and keeping. We surrender. And we allow your orchestration of divine right good to take care of each one of us. And so for each one of us that are a part of this show and those that are listening, we can send each other a great blessing. So we do this together. Energy is all present. So let's just send each other a great blessing. We have just magnified all the good by sending each other a blessing. And for this, dear God, we do give thanks. And so it is. Amen.
So it is. Amen.
And sodas.
Wow. Well,
I love you guys.
Wait, we got to read a little story about you.
2 more minutes here. But check out Cathy Norman at unitysb.org.
Yep.
Their live streams are amazing. They have a YouTube channel as well where that stuff's starting to go up. And we thank you, Cathy. Listen to this little story.
Yes, we found this in the archives.
Ojai Press.
The Ojai Press.
One morning when Cathy was in 4th grade, her teacher, Mrs. Grouch, was reviewing future, past, and present tenses with the class. And at one point, Mrs. Grouch said to the class,
I am beautiful.
she said, I am beautiful is what tense? Cathy quickly shouted.
That's definitely the past tense.
You guys.
Well, the good news is,
We're going to sing it out.
yeah, because only when I'm dancing can I feel this free. At night, I lock the doors where no one else can see. I'm tired of dancing here all by myself. Tonight, I want to dance with someone else. Get into the groove, boy. God's gonna prove his love to me. Yeah. Get up on your feet, yeah. Step to the beat. God, what will it be?
Yeah, visit DarrellandEd.com to find easy links.
Cathy
to everything
Norman, we
do.
love you.
And as always, thank you for being a part of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed.
Nancy too. Get into the groove, boy. God's gonna prove his love to me. Yeah. Get up on your feet, yeah. Step to the beat. God, what will it be? Yeah.
Wow, wasn't that an amazing podcast? Well, you could do that too here at CHOBOstudios.com here in the Los Angeles area. And if you're not in Los Angeles, you could always go to PodShuttle.io. It's our fully remote editing service where we'll cut up clips, we'll edit for you, podcast management. We do it all, baby. We got the digital goods here at PodShuttle and CHOBO. We love you.